My name is Adam Swiderski, and I am the editor-in-chief of SYFY WIRE.
So SYFY WIRE has gone through a whole redesign in the last year. Do you want to talk about the changes and the evolution of the website?
Sure, absolutely. So SYFY WIRE has a very long history, dating back to when it was called SYFY WIRE, SYFY WIRE, with the network many years ago. When the network rebranded in 2009, it was spun off into a separate blog that was called Blaster, and kind of maintained that identity for several years up until last year, when the network rebranded again and increased its push into the genre space, into the space where fans are. And Blaster was already speaking with the voice of the fan at that time, and it seemed like a very natural thing to kind of bring it back into the overall ecosystem, rename it SYFY WIRE, and really push it to be a full-service media organization.
Do you feel it's difficult these days to gain like an imprint these days, to gain popularity in the digital space, because there's just so many options? So hard to grab someone's attention.
Yeah, it is a very crowded space, but I think the thing is, it's just about the content. If you have the content, if you have good exclusive pieces and compelling videos and all kinds of podcasts, and like we do, people will find it. And I think that that's the most important thing. It is hard to build brand loyalty and things like that, but I think that people will respond if the content is there.
You've been doing the Who Won the Week podcast for quite a while.
Yeah.
What do you attribute to its, massive popularity?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's just the things we cover have just increasingly been more and more popular over the years. I could have, a few years ago, if you'd asked me if the superhero movie bubble, for example, was going to burst at some point, I would have said probably, in the next few years, people are going to fatigue on it. And it just continues to explode. I mean, Marvel is the most dominant brand in movies right now. And so I think that that's a big part of it, that genre entertainment just continues to grow in popularity. I think also, people are hungry for context and connective tissue that kind of binds all the things that are happening now to what's happened before, and kind of getting a greater understanding of the overall ecosystem all this stuff is taking place in. And I think that's a service that we provide with that podcast.
I took a bit of a look at your stage at Comic-Con, that live stage. But what was that experience like? All those adoring fans?
Well, I don't know if they were adoring fans, but they were. It was pretty mobbed the entire time. It was great. I mean, honestly, first of all, seeing that response was very gratifying. It helps us feel like what we were doing is something that fans are appreciating. New York Comic-Con was the culmination of a year of doing these kinds of live stage shows. We started at Emerald City Comic-Con in Seattle, and then did C2E2 in Chicago. And it was just a really great progression, because Emerald City is a bit of a smaller convention, a little more intimate, and we kind of built up. And New York Comic-Con was the pinnacle of that. And the talent that we had on stage was amazing. And yeah, the fan response was just really great. It was very, very cool. So it was a fantastic experience, and just really great. It felt like a really great way to connect what we do with fans in a live environment.
And having Jodie Whittaker up there, how do you feel about the 13th Doctor?
I think it's great. I think the tagline that people have been putting out there is "It's about time." Obviously, that ties into the time travel element of Doctor Who, but I 100% agree. I think it was about time for a woman to step into the role, and from what I've seen of her, she's great. I mean, she kind of had to be, because there's so much pressure for that being the case, of her being the first female Doctor. But the good news is, I thought, at least based on the first episode, she nails it. So I'm super psyched. And I think that, there was a little resistance at first from certain quarters, but I think that overall the fandom is really psyched. And the ratings for the first episode reflected that. They were huge. People were really excited to see this step, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
I saw you do a little guitar playing in your spare time.
I do.
Do you have a band going?
I do. I play in two bands, actually. One, I play guitar and sing in one that's called Super Major. You can find us at supermajormusic.com. And then I play drums in a band called Deacon Bishop Revival. It's deaconbishoprevival.com. Check us out, man.
Is that something you started off when you were a teenager, a kid?
I kind of picked up the guitar when I was a teenager, and then I really kind of got serious about it after 9/11 in a weird way, because I'd been kicking around the idea of being in a band for a lot of years and procrastinating and put it off, and there was something about that moment that really catalyzed a certain amount of, time to get to work if you really want to do this. So that's when I dove into it. I've been playing in bands in New York City since 2001.
What attracted you to come on board here to SYFY?
Oh, well, I've been working in digital media even longer. I started as a video game journalist in 1998. I'm really dating myself here. But yeah, so I've been in digital media for 20 years, and I used to work for a site called UGO, which started out as Unified Gamers Online, then became
Used to read that often.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Oh wow. Yeah, I was at UGO for 9 years, from 99 to 2008, and then I jumped on board with SYFY, but I was primarily working on their IP websites, so for their shows and things like that, and I would sub as the editor for Blaster when the editor at the time for Blaster couldn't be there, and those were the times I really loved, because it was like, I love this stuff. I love science fiction, fantasy, horror, entertainment across a whole bunch of different media, and just getting to play in that pool was great. And so when the opportunity came to apply for the position of editor-in-chief of the site, I jumped at it.
I saw FX is doing something new now where they bring about like writers, like let's say for It's Sunny in Philadelphia, right? And I was wondering if SYFY is planning to do something similar with their IPs, like Winona Earp, like do a guest blog for the writers.
Well, we do. We have some crossover. We are an editorially independent organization, but we also, the good news is that a lot of the shows that SYFY is doing now are shows that we would want to cover all out, regardless of what network they're on. So, for example, we did an episodic podcast about The Expanse when that was on the network that was pretty successful, called The Churn, and we're doing one for Winona Earp now, and we're going to do probably one for Deadly Class, which is an upcoming show from SYFY. So where it makes sense, we will absolutely do as much coverage as we can of some of these properties. I think the podcast thing is a big area where we're delving into that with the SYFY shows. It gives us the opportunity to, talk to the creators and talk to the people behind it, and kind of, again, bridge the gap between fan and creator in a way that I think people are really responding to.
Did you get to visit Winona Earp in the food truck this weekend?
I did not. I was incredibly busy with the live stage and also helping out with our on-air segments that we were filming. So it's unfortunate. Like I didn't actually see the uptown side of the convention center at all. I was just in that one hall for most of the time, but I heard great things.
What about the vote? Did you vote for Winona or The Expanse already?
Which one was that?
The E's People's Choice Awards. They had like a vote.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't vote, but everyone should vote.
I don't know if Winona will be happy about that.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad now. I missed out.
Where do you see SYFY WIRE a year from now? What do you think is going to be the eventual evolution of the site, the medium, everything?
Yeah, I think we're really, really leaning into a lot of our video opportunities. We've been doing a lot more with that now. In addition to your typical video interviews and stuff like that, we've expanded into doing almost mini documentaries. We did one about Image Comics that was really well received. So the video side is certainly going to develop, and especially kind of where we can cross over the digital web side of SYFY WIRE with the on-air offerings that SYFY is putting up. I don't know yet exactly what form that's going to take, but that is a priority for the network, I think, is to kind of bring the SYFY WIRE experience more both inline and to the on-air audience. And then just, expanding as much as we can. We want to expand our podcast network, bigger stories that are more in-depth, anything that we can do to kind of, again, bridge that gap between the fans who are consuming this content and the people who are making it, and kind of putting it all in context. I think we're going to be really, we're running pretty full steam as it is, but it can only go up from here.
What's something you'd like to undertake, like during SYFY? Kind of like The Walking Dead has that mobile game now. Do you want to have that kind of audience participation from active SYFY shows to visit the site in between?
I mean, that's... I kind of... My purview is a little off to the side of that. That, I think, would be more on the IP side. And the like, we do have certain experiences like that, I know, for the magicians and things like that. So I don't know what's in development on that side. My side is primarily focused on Wire, and we don't typically do that kind of content. We're more about coverage and in-depth explorations of this stuff than, like, a fan experience. But I know there is a lot of that stuff in the works at SYFY. I know we have some VR, both VR and AR initiatives in the works around certain shows as well. So.
And my last question, if you had to describe SYFY WIRE in one sentence to people who've never jumped on board the site before, what would you say?
I would say that we are your super geeky friend who is easy to talk to about this stuff. And I think that that's kind of encapsulating it, because we are inclusive, we are big tent, we want everybody to be a part of this, but we are there to help when it's like, I've just seen, you know, Black Panther and I really want to get into this Marvel universe. What's this all about? We're there to bring you, like, what are your essential stories? What do you need to know about the film? What's next after that? And I think that's a big part of what I want to do with SYFY WIRE.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.